And on this week's episode of the Don Hollywood Show, we have country music sensation Frank Ray. Frank, how you doing today, buddy?
What's up, Mr. Don Hollywood? How you doing, man? I
Um,
gotta say, I love watching you on TikTok, man. I love watching you on all the social media platforms, dude. It makes me want to be a better dancer.
I appreciate that. Whenever I come and watch you play live, it makes me want to dance. So I appreciate artists like you throwing out great music that makes me want to dance.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you,
We need a line dance to one of your songs.
man. I'm working on it, dude. And Lord knows, I've got so many songs that I've
Yeah.
written that have the vibe, but it's just one of those things where when you're with a label and stuff, you got to be real strategic about what you're going to put out. And it's just like, it seems like it's one song a year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just one of those things where, for whatever reason, the line dance songs haven't quite
Yeah.
surfaced. But I know
Because
I have a bunch of them.
I mean, all your songs make me want to dance. I mean, my favorite one of yours is Street Lights. I love dancing to that.
Heck
And
yeah.
whenever you played that live, was it like a month ago we saw you play? We had to get up and go
Yeah.
dance a little salsa to Street Lights.
Yeah. Dude, and I appreciate you doing that, man. You
Uh,
guys really bring an energy to the dance floor, and it's cool, man, to see y'all because most people want to dance, but they don't have nearly the confidence that y'all have. So when you and Emily get up there and just do your thing, it's so cool to see because you guys essentially get the party started.
we're trying, but you definitely set the tone. And I know last time we had talked, did a podcast together, I talked about your energy. You have one of the best energies out of all the artists. Like I always love being around people who are very passionate about what they do, and I can tell when you're on that stage that is your favorite place to be,
Yeah.
and you just love it. And as a fan watching that, it makes me just love it, and it just makes me happy to be there because I want to come see some good music. And when I know that you want to be there and you're ready, then it makes me even more excited to be there.
Yeah, man. I think that's one thing that it's taken a lot of practice. You know what I mean, to kind of get to that level of entertainment. But when you find it, man, and you find the thing that makes it work for you, yeah, at the end of the day, I've always kind of had the philosophy too that people are going to spend hard-earned money to come out and see a show. If they're going to take the time to stay up late and see you, you better give them what they paid for. If
Yeah,
it's even if it's $10, you gotta make it worth their while. And so
yeah.
I take that very, very personally, and it's not lost on me that people are taking time out of their day to come see me. So I try to give them what they came out for.
Absolutely. I love that. Now, I heard, or maybe you talked about it on the show. I can't remember when you came to Charleston, you had some sort of travel issues or something got lost or because all the rain or something along those lines. Do you remember what was going on that day?
I don't, man. There's so many tales from the road where things just go haywire that
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably has something to do with the weather. There's other stuff that come up, like where we got all our stuff stolen in Portland, where we had to go to a Guitar Center and just buy a bunch of gear to make the show happen that night. It was just,
Wow.
it's always stuff where the vehicle breaks down or the bus breaks down or something breaks down. You know what I mean? And it's
Did
just
y'all recover the stuff that
no,
was stolen?
no,
No.
no. It was
Wow.
gone, dude. It's
Uh,
gone.
what happened?
Yeah, dude, we were playing at this one bar called the Ponderosa, which is in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And it's a weird little venue because it's like a music venue slash bar slash gas station slash truck stop slash hotel.
Mm.
It's just a weird spot. So the guys that pulled up and it was about 1:30 in the morning. Somebody came up and broke the lock off the trailer and just took all our stuff.
Broke the lock. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, they're
So okay, I was good. I was gonna say, did y'all have a lock on it? But I'm glad to know y'all at
yeah,
least do.
yeah. But I was a cop for 10 years, and so
Yeah.
that kind of thing is just like, and I don't know why I didn't think any more of it, but it happens to every band. We're not the first or the last band that it'll happen to, and you just kind of make the best with what you got, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Probably went to the pawn shop right after that too.
Easily, easily, man. Or Portland is so close to, the Canadian border too that
Gotcha.
it could be just something where we'll just never see it again. But it's all right, man. We had a lot of people step up and help out. There's some good friends we have in LaPorte, Indiana,
Yeah.
with Bethany Church, and they raised a bunch of money through Roxy Music, which is like a local instrument place they got in town, and they hooked us up with a bunch of gear, and that was really nice, man. So
Wow. That's
it's really
awesome.
good to see there's good people in the world.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that happen to you. That's very stressful. It's your livelihood.
It is, man. But hey, you roll with the punches, man. That's the name of the business.
Absolutely. You just gotta be prepared because you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, man. Trust me. Like, and at that point, none of our stuff was insured because, again, you never think it's going to happen to you. But now
Y'all in, you're
all that
insured
shit,
now?
yeah,
Okay, good.
everything, man, down to the screw. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's a learning lesson. There was a time where, we used to not do contracts with our irrigation business.
yeah,
And somebody rips you off and it's an unfortunate learning lesson, but then you realize that, hey, we got to make sure we do every step to make sure
yeah.
we're taken care of.
You gotta do it, man. You gotta do it. But
Um,
I mean, we're still kicking, man. We're doing well. We got all new gear. I guess if you're gonna look at the silver lining, we got new stuff, and
yes.
it makes for a better show. So it's cool.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite brand of guitar you like to play?
I play Martin. I play
Martin.
Martin. Yeah, and I was blessed enough to have like an ambassadorship with them, so they kind of
Nice.
hooked me up with guitars here and
Yeah,
there. And even when one of my SC13 got stolen in Portland, and they hooked me up with another one. So, but
gotcha.
I've got a few guitars from Martin that they hooked a brother up with, so it's kind of
That's
cool.
awesome. What about like electric guitars? You have like a favorite one?
I don't, man, because I don't necessarily play electric
Like,
guitar. I know a lot of the guys are either they're a Telly or a Strat kind of guy, and so it really just kind of depends. But most guitar players have their own. It really just depends on tone and playability and how it sounds through an amp. It's just stuff that's so foreign to me because I'm not very good at
yeah, I
it.
was listening to, I think it was maybe Ronnie Radke. Are you familiar
Yep,
with Falling Under? Okay.
yep,
So, maybe it was him, I can't remember, but they were talking about guitars and they said a lot of guys will take stuff from different guitars, the insides, and put it inside. Just they like the outside shell,
yep.
but they like little different things on the inside.
That's the thing too. Is like I think most guitarists will agree that it's just that it's just hardware put
Mhm.
together, man. And so you could have different necks, you can have different bodies, you can have different pickups, down to the strings
Yeah.
that people you can I kind of Frankenstein together and make something that really just is personal to them,
Yeah.
that's good to them. But for the most part, I mean, there are some staple guitars out there that you don't really have to touch that just sound good. Like if it's a Les Paul that you're going to play, then not a lot of people find issue with that. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some guitar players out there that will. So it really just But me being on an acoustic guitar with the guitars that I have, especially the SC13, it just sounds great the minute you plug it in. So
That's
no issues
awesome.
here. Yeah,
Okay. So I don't know if you know this or not, but here on the Don Hollywood Show, we do mainly talk about dancing. So
yeah.
I
As
want
I
to,
kind of figured that much.
yeah, which we decided to start doing tutorials soon. Or now we just published the first one last week, which of course was Shivers. Your message you sent me the other
Dude,
night had
tell
me
me. I
cracking
mean,
up.
like I heard it and I was like, I gotta send this to my man Don Hollywood, dude, because like every time it comes on, I just think of you and the line dance and stuff. And I think it's great, man, what you guys have done. And it goes to show that you can line dance to music, any type of music, man.
Yeah,
As long as you got the right steps and structure and stuff, you can make it happen.
absolutely. Which is why, I love dancing to your song Streetlights because it's got a little bit of a salsa vibe. Like that's a
Yeah.
perfect song for a line dance, in my opinion.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Did you grow up dancing at all?
Man, I think it's just kind of been my DNA, really.
Okay.
I'm not like classically trained or, I've never taken any lessons or anything like that. I kind of grew up watching like Selena do her thing, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I just kind of try to emulate that when I'm on
gotcha.
stage and just the hip move. A lot of people, it does come very natural, but some people they need it kind of brought out of them. But for the most part, everyone can learn how to dance, I think, and you should learn how to dance if you don't, because it like I said at the beginning at the top of this interview, it's like it really brings the party and sets the tone for
For
everything. So
sure.
dancing is just it's as universal of a communication as music is. So
Yeah.
why not do it?
Now, did you ever family were y'all doing salsa, bachata, or anything at family parties growing up?
All the time, man. I grew
Okay.
up just going to every single quinceanera you can think of. You know what I mean?
Figured.
So it's there's always something, and then of course you got like two step, right? A country two step or whatever, but Mexican dancing isn't too far removed. You just instead of taking the two steps in the one, you do two steps on either side.
Yeah. Well,
And
you got
that's
cumbia is what Mexicans love to
cumbia
do.
is another
Yeah.
thing, man. Yeah, but salsa dancing, all that stuff is just
Yeah.
very very intimate and very it's a great way for you to get to
Yeah.
have an experience with somebody.
I've never been to a party with white people and they started doing two-step. There's been some line dancing I've gone to, but I love going to Latin parties because everybody's always dancing and it's
Yeah,
just so much fun. And I love the culture so much.
dude, and I think everyone can kind of take a page out of that book, man. It's just like we go out there to party, and
Yeah.
part of the party is dancing. And if you're not dancing, well, it's kind of a drag. So
Yeah.
why not do it? You know what I mean?
Everybody's in a good mood. It's a great way to meet people too.
Yeah, man. Tequila helps.
Now, is tequila your favorite type of alcohol or
Yeah, I would say it's my go-to, man. It's
okay.
my go-to. Who doesn't like a cold beer every now and then or whatever? But for the most part, tequila, whiskey, that's
Well, I
just
mean,
stuff.
hell, you got tequila mockingbird and you got somebody else's whiskey, so you're singing about all the liquors.
Dude, come on. Yeah, the part of the thing is to think about what you know, and what I know a lot about liquor.
Okay. So we're not going to hear any wine songs from you anytime soon.
Surprisingly, I do have a wine song that was like on my first EP that people can
Okay.
go find. It's called Wine Talking,
Okay.
but that's more of a story about like um, you know, I had a buddy that had this girl. Excuse me, one second. Sorry. Are you leaving?
You're
Sorry.
fine. You're
Give me
fine.
2 seconds.
Take your
Don
time.
Hollywood. Say hi to Jada. Say
Hi,
hi to
Jada. How you doing?
Hello, Don
This is
Hollywood.
Don Hollywood.
I love your hat.
Thank
Look at the
you.
fit,
Oh,
man.
the
She
whole
got the
outfit's great
thing.
too. Is that
Yeah,
from
go check her
Shein?
out. Where can they find you? Where can they find you?
Cato Music.
Jada what?
Cato,
Uh,
Cato.
Kata. Okay.
Yes.
I'll
Jada
find
K.
you on Frank's page right now and give you a follow.
She's a great songwriter, dude. Great vocalist. You're gonna love it. Hey, give me 2 seconds.
Nice.
I will find.
But yeah. Anyway, my buddy had this girl that would only call him whenever she was kind of in on the bottle. You know what I mean? And so it was just like, hey, I know you don't really mean all the things you're saying. I think it's just the wine talking. And so it's more of a piano ballad, not something that you can necessarily you line dance to. But
Hey,
I do have some wine songs.
I'm ballroom trained now. If it's a waltz, I can dance a little waltz.
You ought to check it out, man. It's a great song. It's one of my favorites
Okay.
that I've
I'll
written.
check that out. Now with alcohol though, do you think, because I've talked to some of my friends and you can tell on the outside they're in these relationships and they don't seem like they're healthy to me. And then they always tell me that it's the alcohol. They drink alcohol and then they get into these fights and they blame it on the alcohol. But I really think that alcohol just makes you say the things that you really want to say.
Yeah.
Are you under that belief, or do you think that alcohol makes you say things you don't necessarily believe?
No, I agree. I think alcohol and money are two things that really just kind of amplify your character. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where if you're a naturally angry person, you're a naturally happy person. Alcohol will bring it out to you, and then money will just show how generous you are, or how much of an ass you can be. So you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I,
I just think it's like anything else, man. They're tools for the trade, and they really just bring out the individual, whether it's the worst or the best in them.
I completely agree. Now, I'm getting married in a few months. You've been
Yep.
married. You have a few kids. How many kids you got
Yeah,
now?
I got 3 daughters.
Three daughters. Okay. And I believe last time we talked, you had just had the newborn. How is the
Yeah,
family doing? Everybody
they're
good?
great, and thank you for asking. They're
Absolutely.
beautiful. They're thriving. They're growing. It's arguably the biggest part of who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Is my family. I love them to death, and my wife has been my go-to person since day one, and
Yeah.
I would just oh yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Really means a lot to you was the last thing you said before we cut out.
Yeah, yeah, I think, and my family, it's just to the core of who I am as a person. I mean, it's just I wouldn't be here without them. And talking about my wife, we were just reminiscing this morning over our receipt from our first date,
Yeah.
which was at High Desert Brewery in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Like we spent
Wow.
like $22 on that. You know what I mean? It was just like, and I met the love of my life. You know what I mean?
That's
That's actually
awesome.
a good idea for a song. I think it's $22. Anyway,
Do
but
you how do you write all of your ideas down? Do you got a little notepad in your like a thing in your phone or you
yeah,
have a hand?
yeah, I use the notes app on the phone. It's pretty simple. I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of ideas or lyrics or half written songs and stuff like that. I use my voice memo too. If I have like a melodic idea, and I'll just kind of sing into it and take it into a room. And if we write that day, great. If not, we save it for another day. Um, but yeah, sometimes they just come like a lot through conversation. I think it's the most real way to write anything.
That's awesome. I was listening to Jelly Roll on a podcast, and he said that he writes, which I know you got to sing with him recently, and I want to
Yeah,
get to that too.
yeah.
But he said that right now he said he's just in this crazy mindset, and he's writing like hundreds of songs. But he says that some songs he writes he knows aren't meant for him to sing. He just couldn't sing it with conviction. Is that something that that you feel also you write a track and you're like, this is a great song, but I just don't feel that this I could sing this live.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a ton of them like that, especially when you start kind of getting into when you write country music, and you write with a bunch of guys that are like from a different geographical location than I'm from, which is like the desert in New Mexico.
Yeah.
When you start seeing about like Georgia or like the Georgia clay and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, I have caliche in New Mexico. It's a different kind of clay, you know what I mean? But songs like that that are a little different for me, even when it comes down to lakes and stuff, I was like, you know, the closest lake, if I wanted to find it, was in northern New Mexico, which is like a good 4 or 5 hours away from where I'm at, or like the nearest ocean was a good 8 to 12 hours away. So
Mm,
it's just like I don't singing about the beach and all that stuff is like a stuff that I've done as tourists, but nothing that I can sing with real authenticity. So songs that have that kind of vibe, I try to stay away from because I think at the end of the day, people want to connect with an artist, and the only way to do that is through authenticity. And so I try to sing songs that really either mean something to me or something I can relate to. And if you can't do that as an artist, then you shouldn't be cutting the song. But
I
there are plenty of
completely.
artists out there that can. So you just write anyway. That
Yeah,
songwriting is my passion, and you do it. Hopefully that somebody will pick it up later on down the road.
that's awesome. Now, when you got to sing with Jelly Roll, did you play with him that night? Tell me about that night.
Yeah, man. So Jelly and I are on the same label, so we've
Oh,
known
okay.
for years now. He's at BBR as well.
Okay.
But yeah, we're kind of like just a part of this sort of misfit ragtag group of individuals that are in mainstream country music now. And he knew I was from that part of the world in the Southwest. He played in El Paso, Texas, and
Nice.
Las Cruces, New Mexico, where I lived for the most of my adult life.
Yeah.
Is just like 45 minutes north of that. So I flew in and got to do a song, and then we did Friends in Low Places,
Mhm.
and got to represent for my people down there. And it was a big surprise for everybody who knows me down there. They're like, "Holy shit, here's Frank!" You know what I mean? It was just a really cool thing. And who knows, man? I love Jelly. He's obviously a very very high in demand
Yeah.
right now. But I do have a couple songs that I think might be really good for the two of us to jump on. So hopefully, here in the near future we'll do something together.
Awesome. I like Jelly Roll. I like a good of his tracks, everything, but he's really big comedy fan, and I'm super big into Kill Tony. On yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So just because everything I watch, he's friends with all the people, so I've just been seeing him nonstop. I mean, Bert Kreischer came to Charleston, and he had Jelly was traveling with him for a few shows, and just came out on stage and played a few tracks.
Yeah.
And I listened to him on the podcast, and he was like, "Yeah, I just love Bert." So I just asked him if I could just come hang out for a few shows, and I told him I'd come out and play a couple tracks. And I was like, "This dude's like, does he ever stay home?"
Yeah, dude, I that's the thing, man. It's like someone like Jelly's just super connected. He's got irons in the fire everywhere,
Yeah,
whether it's in comedy or whether it's through in Hollywood or whether it's here in music. Like he's got he's got tentacles everywhere, man, and that's just really cool because it just shows like how diverse he is as an individual, and there's so much more to just the character you see on stage. And I think he does a great job of showcasing that.
for sure.
Yeah, but much like him, I love stand up comedy, man. Like that's sort of my pastime. I'll just put on a comedy special of
Who are
sorts.
your
And
favorites? Give me a few
dude,
comedians.
I mean, I'm a big, I mean, I love Nate Bargatze.
Okay,
I love Bill Burr,
yeah, I love
Chappelle.
it.
Jeff Akiri is a guy that I've been seeing on TikTok and
Haven't seen
Instagram.
it.
He's so funny, dude. Jeff
Okay,
Akiri, Josh, was it Josh Johnson? Is the new one that's
that
kind of
name
been,
sounds familiar.
yeah, has been kind of making his rounds. He's made a few uh, appearances on like the Daily Show and stuff like that. But he's really cool, man. He's got a really solid delivery in the way he tells these stories and stuff. And
It's awesome.
um, but yeah, man, I just Mike Birbiglia. I mean, I love all these different comics, and just it's really cool to go out there like when if I do have some downtime, my wife and I will go to like a comedy show and just pass the time. Yeah, it's really
Have
fun.
you watched Kill Tony yet?
Of course I watched Kill Tony. It's
Okay, good.
absolutely brutal. It's brutal. brutal to watch. Some people that just bomb completely. You're like, oh,
Yes. I always wonder if I went up there. I'm like, what would they cuddle me for whenever I went up there?
oh my gosh, dude, I would get eaten alive easily. I know that without a doubt. I would
Can
get eaten
you
alive.
could you handle being roasted?
Yeah, I like to think so, but probably when I got to, I'd be like, nah, that's bullshit, man. We're gonna fight after this. I don't
There's a
know
few
that I
people
could
I've
do it.
seen, they get so mad.
And I think a lot of it, like especially like growing up and or when you're part of the police force too, like roasting is just part of it. You're always either the butt end of the joke or you're in on the joke.
Yeah.
So I developed some pretty thick skin, but at the same time, like everyone struggles with their insecurities, and so when someone starts to put you on blast, you're just like, and I just don't know. I've never been put in that position where like there's an arena full of people just laughing at you. So it might hit a nerve.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you feel about that? Because I know, and I hope you don't mind me, but I see that I love that you respond to trolls on the internet, dude. I love it so much because I like to consider myself kind of the same thing where if there's like a comment out there or whatever, you just like to kind of you want to make sure you put them in check or whatever. But
Yeah, I
how
mean,
do you how do you how do you respond to that outside of just like the actual figurative response?
okay, great question. Because and this is the number one thing people love to talk to me about. So I grew up watching the WWE, right?
Yeah,
And listening to all these podcasts and everything. And are you familiar? Like, did you watch wrestling growing up at all?
yeah, I did,
Okay.
man. I stopped like when The Rock left.
Well, he's back now. So
He's back now, yeah, but
that's Emily's favorite. I mean, he still looks like $1 million.
yeah,
So are you familiar with the term babyface and heel?
I'm not actually. What
Okay. Okay. So you're not that much of a wrestling fan.
I'm not that. Yeah, no,
Okay. So
yeah,
in wrestling, if the baby face is the good guy and the heel is the bad guy.
gotcha.
Okay. So I did want to make sure I was using terminology because I talk in wrestling terminology. So like for example, whenever you go to a city and you get up on stage and you're like, Charleston, how we doing tonight, right? You would call that would be you being a baby face, and you would call that a cheap pop because when you say the town's name, then they're all just gonna go, woo, we live here. But if
Right,
you were a bad guy and you were go there and say, Charleston, South Carolina stinks, then everybody would boo, and that would be called cheap heat. Um,
right.
but in the wrestling world, the role is just to get a reaction from people. If you good or bad, it doesn't matter. Because if you're a bad guy, you want to get a reaction. Doesn't matter. You're not trying to get them to say positive things. So me as my role as a content creator, I view that as the same way. I'm trying to get a reaction from people. So I don't care whether it is good or bad. There are videos that I have posted. For example, there's a line dance we do to a song called Make It Shake. And we were in Charlotte in the beginning of the video clips. At the bar, they had just finished playing rap music. So nobody's line dancing to that. And then he switched it back over to line dance music. So everybody's kind of crowding the dance floor and they don't know we're about to line dance. So we kind of were like, hey, space it out. We're go line dance, right? But the first time I posted that, people in the comments are like, "You don't own that dance floor. Who do you think you are?" And it's like you don't even know the full context. We're not yelling at anybody to get up the dance floor. We're just saying, "Hey, heads up, we're about to be line dancing."
Yep.
But I'll post that video repeatedly because I know people are going to react to it. Now, the more reactions to it, the more money I make.
Gotcha.
So I don't necessarily care. No matter what I post, people are going to say stuff anyways. That's just a part of posting on the internet. Um,
Yep.
you know, I was bullied and stuff when I was younger, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it did break me at the time. I'm 16, 17 years old. But it prepared me for the internet because I was like, there's nothing online that anybody's going to say to me. And
Yeah.
the interesting part is, because of the internet, I've been able to, well, I mean, we met in person. But there's other artists like Tiger Lily Gold and Chase McDaniel who I have met through social media that, I'm at a show of theirs and they, make time to come by and say hi or make a TikTok with me or come on my podcast. And then everywhere I go, everybody's just so nice. So you have to separate internet with reality. And
Yeah.
this is reality because how many people are sitting around having a bad day, Frank? Like, there's a lot of people out there who unfortunately are just having a bad day and they see you smiling and getting in the gym and you're just, getting swole. Because I wake up a few weeks ago, and I just see you just sweating in the gym, just getting the pump, and I was like, all right, Frank, like let's go.
Let's
But if
go.
I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna comment on that. I'm gonna be like, dude, you suck. Your music isn't even that good. Just because
Sure.
they see you're happy and you're living your dream and they're not, and it eats them inside. So you just have to be comfortable with yourself and
Yep.
separate reality from the internet because same thing with food and everything else, like food reviews. And if you go to a restaurant, if the food's good, I'm not going to go online and write I try to remember to write a good
Yeah.
review, but I don't think to. But if somebody really pisses me off and the service was terrible, oh, damn it, I'm gonna go on that app and I'm gonna say
Yeah.
this place was terrible. The service, don't come here.
Yeah. No, I got you, man. And I think that's part of the reason, like to our point earlier with Kill Tony, like I feel like I might be able to handle it just because, like you, I put myself in the public eye
Yeah.
and you put music out there, you put content out there, and the minute you put it out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's just you're at the mercy of whatever the internet's going to do. And there's a lot of trolls out there, there's a lot of bots out there, and there's just people that are just trying to get some sort of negative engagement. But at the same time, it's engagement, and that's how I look at it. It's just like it's engagement, regardless whether you hate it or love it. I mean,
Yes.
it
Yes.
is what it is. So,
But they're
but
paying attention to you.
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Now,
it moves the
how
needle.
do you go ahead, sorry.
I'll say it moves the needle. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the point. And I think a lot of people don't understand that that's the point is just to get eyeballs on you and and even if they don't like something as it is.
Oh, I'm cleaning them up. Here we go. Give me 2 seconds. You're gonna take this away from me.
You're good.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. Whew.
Um Even if they don't like you or truly don't like a song that you're watching or that you put out, as long as they're watching, you might actually put out one that they do like and they know who you are, but they're
Yeah,
watching you, and that's the key thing.
that's it, man. And I think with music in general, you just never know what's gonna hit, man. So you
Yeah.
just put stuff out there, um, and hope that it takes off. And if it doesn't, you go back to the drawing board. And like I said, I've got thousands of songs that I can pick from. So
Well, give me an example of something of maybe how you have found an evolution of your music, or maybe different things that you've tried. You're like, okay, well, was it a song like the way the music sounds, or a song lyrics singing about love, or singing about alcohol? Um, what is some different types of things that you've tried?
yeah, I mean that's easy with country music because the country music fan base, if you look at it from like this small lens, you just see it as just like it's just one demographic of people, but it's actually so much bigger than that, right? There are people from different walks of life and different diversities and different cultures that listen and consume country music. And I think my responsibility as a Hispanic artist is to infuse my culture with the existing genre. And that's very, very difficult to do when people see it as just this one thing. And it's very, very easy to put the comment, that's not country,
Yeah,
right? But country music doesn't belong to you, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and that's my whole thing is it doesn't belong to any one of us. It's a melting pot of so many different sounds and influences.
yeah,
And for example, my last song, like prior to that, I had Somebody Else's Whiskey, which was a down the middle country song.
yeah.
Uh, and it did what it was supposed to do, but never really blew up, right? But it was a down the middle country song. And part of
You've
the,
had some good success with that. I mean, nothing gets me
I
more
did,
stoked. I mean, I'm getting in the car. I think it was after an event. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. And first thing I hear up on the radio is your voice. And I was like, oh, that's my guy.
brother, I appreciate that. And,
Absolutely.
and like I said, it reached an audience. It did its job, in my opinion.
Yep.
But it also did sound like something you may have heard before. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like maybe in country music, you've heard about dirt roads, you've heard about tailgates, you've heard about, drinking beer, you've heard about all this stuff. Like how many times can you write the same song,
Yeah.
you know, in a different way? It's very, very difficult. So I went in the complete opposite direction with my song,
Yeah.
that's very kind of almost Latin pop leaning, right? But it was something I was just like, they're like everyone on the record side and on the country radio side is like, we want that Latin flavor. I said, I'll give it to you. I gave it to them, and they're
Yep.
just, yeah, this might not be it. And I was like, well, what do you want?
But you had to try.
Yeah, it's either down the middle country stuff or the Latin stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't, it's a matter of trying to find a mix between the two that makes sense. But that's sort of my cross to bear. And
Yeah.
I'm here to do it, man. Because like
But
at
see,
the end
me
of the day,
personally, I love that because every single famous artist across any genre, they all have their own sound. Like when
yep,
you listen to them, you know that that is a AC/DC song, or you know that that's a George Strait song. Like you know it because of that sound. So that is something that you have that I don't know anybody else who does have, is that little bit of Latin. I mean, maybe there is another artist out there that you can tell me that you're aware of.
yep,
But I can't name anybody right now that has a Latin influence in country music. And country music is not going to be just one thing anymore. And I think that goes across all genres now
yep,
because all of us, we have so much access to music and we all listen and we were all influenced by Eminem and also Linkin Park. And then our parents were showing us Van Halen clips and Alan Jackson growing up. And you're like, I like all of this. And as an
yep.
artist, you're like, okay, well, I like a little bit of this, I like a little bit of that. And then it all comes out in your music.
Yeah, and for me, again, putting it out there on the internet is one thing, but playing it at a live show, people really, really vibe with songs like "Uh-huh," or they vibe with songs like "Streetlights," and
Well, it
you're
makes
like,
you dance. It makes you
not,
get up. Like listening to you
yeah,
play makes me move.
yeah, and that's it, man. And so it's me just trying to bridge the gap in the best way that I possibly can. The only way to do it is just to doing it,
Yeah.
keep doing it until you force people to listen, um, and let them know that there's this whole other world of country music that is at our fingertips. That if we just kind of take off or kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, you'll be privy to. And so that's just because I'm one of the few that's doing it, it does come with a lot of pushback, but you gotta do it.
But I think you have to keep doing it because you have to be unique. But then once one song takes off, then that's like the thing that they're going to go after. And it's tough being the person to knock that door down.
Yeah, the first mouse seldom gets the cheese, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
But like to say, like if you if to your point earlier, if you turn on the radio and you heard something with that vibe, you would know without a doubt that's a Frank Ray record,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that's what I'm going for. And so I'm just gonna keep doing it until we reach the pinnacle, or if not, listen, I've got plenty of traditional country sounding songs that are very well written and will
Yeah.
fit the bill as well. I have no problem doing that. I just think it's important for me representing a culture to continue to
Yeah.
kind of push the envelope a little bit, because if I don't do it, then who
Well,
the hell is?
I agree with you. And one of my favorite artists is Hardy, and he's doing rock and metal
Yep.
and also country. And I'm like, that's perfect because listening to things he talks about, I was like, that's everything you listen to. It's what I listen to. So I love, I feel like that's also got to help you because you have other artists who aren't just trying to put everything in one box. And I think that'll kind of open the doors to other people. Okay, well, who else out there is also, trying to do something new and different? And so, I mean, I respect the hell out of you for doing that because anybody can copy and paste anything else.
Yeah.
It truly takes a set of balls to be unique because you're going to get pushback to it.
And I've got those.
I hope so. You never know in today's time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's listen, I think it's one of the things that, like I said, it's my cross to bear, or my cross to bear. And I do it with a lot of pride, man. I'm so stoked for what I've got coming down the pipe in the future. And there's no looking back at this point.
Love that. Well, I know you've been very busy, so we'll wrap this up here shortly. But I am getting married, and you've been married, so give me some marriage tips and some father tips because we're gonna have some kids in the future.
Yeah, listen, you've got a good head on your shoulders, man. I don't know if there's a whole lot I can tell you that you don't really do. I see your interactions with Emily. Seems like you're very attentive, very loving, and I just encourage you to continue doing that.
Yeah.
It's celebrate all the little moments, man.
Okay.
My wife does a great job of just like, keeping the spark alive. If we have a date night, even if the kids are involved, where it's just in the living room. You
Yeah.
don't have to go out and do something that's so huge. You can just, have a candlelight over some hamburger helper. You know what I mean? And it has that same kind of feeling. I think love the person you're with, do it without condition, do it do it relentlessly. Which is, like I said, something I think you already do. When it comes to the kids, man, Listen, my wife has gone through it. I'll never know the burdens of motherhood, right? Which is just something that that could take up a whole other podcast. And I'm sure there's plenty of podcasts out there that talk about the struggles of being a mom. And so when it comes down to it, if you can just do the dishes, man, take out the trash, change the diapers without being asked to do so, that goes such a long way. My wife constantly praises me for just being there, because that is the being present and being a part of what's going on in that moment uh speaks volumes. So just do that, because they did all the other hard work, man. They carried the child, and they're doing all the sleepless nights, and they had this bond with the baby that that you taking the time out of your day to just do the little things to take a weight off their shoulders, what it goes a long way. So just do that, man. And when you have your kids, man, just be present. Just be with them. Be with them. Teach them right from wrong. They're looking to you, and let them play outside. Let them fall. Let them skin their knee. Do all that stuff. All the stuff you can patch up. Um, and it'll change your whole world.
I love that. You almost got me crying over here, man.
Listen, I got and listen, like I said, it's arguably the biggest part of who I am as a person. So I've got a lot of songs like that.
I say that
That
sounded like a new song back there. You just gotta
yeah,
let them
they're
skin their
very
knees.
much the family vein that I hope to release, because I think at the end of the day, people can relate to that as well. So,
Yeah,
definitely looking forward to turning a new leaf in my career, especially as we head into the next year. And people are going to hear a lot more songs like that. So it's going to be
nice.
great.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it, and thank you so much for coming on. And I'm very proud of you and all the success you're having. It's been an absolute joy. It's been what 2 years now we've known each
Yeah.
other, so it's been an absolute joy to watch your career rise. And every time I come to one of your shows, I think the coolest thing for an artist when you go to a show is if they can get you to forget about your life and you can just enjoy the moment as is. And both times I've seen you play live, I've completely forgotten about the outside world, and I'm just enjoying that moment. But you and your entire band, all you guys are great, and very much thank you for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. Keep doing what
Abs-
you're doing, man. You're
abs-
absolutely killing it. And like I said, when it comes to songs, I got some stuff like that coming down the pipe, but we have plenty of line dance and stuff for you
I
to
can't
work
wait.
with. You're great, man.
We'll have to do one, brother.
All right, brother. Big love, man. Thanks
All
for
right,
having me.
man. Have a good one. See you,
You
buddy.
too. Peace out.